All right, so Scott mentioned it, but I'm Justin. Uh, I'm a designer. I design things. Some of you may know that I design the artificial Ruby stuff, but I design other things. Two important things to know about this presentation is one, I'm a car enthusiast. We'll get to that eventually. But two, I am not a developer. I am a designer, so bear with me. Uh, so why am I here today? Well, I think like a lot of you, I went on this journey of just following what agentic coding could or could not do. I started just watching what other people could build. I tried Lovable. I tried some of the other Vercel one-shot tools. I eventually, started editing any code that I was editing with stuff like Cursor. But earlier this year, I finally made the plunge and I installed Claude Code. It was crazy because it just worked. So one of the things that I found out quickly is that I ran out of things to give Claude Code to do. So I started to look through my old side projects. Now, I mentioned the car thing earlier. I had a project that I started about a year ago. I mostly started it because I wanted a short URL, a 4-character URL, and I found one, and I reverse engineered a side project around that URL. But like many car nerds, I know that every once in a while there's these limited edition cars that are released by manufacturers. Manufacturers do it mostly so they could charge more money to go slightly faster, but car nerds go crazy for it, and I was one of those nerds. So I started, with just a basic website that I hand coded myself. I started a spreadsheet, and really the idea was, can I track all 1,000 of these limited edition cars? Not very cool, but we'll get to the cool part. As I was tracking these cars, I realized that cars are sold multiple times. The mileage goes up, and a spreadsheet was a terrible tool to track those. So I tried other no-code options, because again, I'm not a developer, but those weren't that much better, and it's an abandoned side project because I abandoned it because it became too tedious, basically, to maintain. Anyway, I'm here today because I built a Rails app. And when I say I built it, I didn't build anything. Claude did. But what I finally did when I was getting addicted to Claude is realize that I could just test things. So one of the things that I wanted to find out is if Claude could build a Rails app basically just off of a spreadsheet. And what was crazy is that it just worked. I basically one-shotted it almost to get this interactive spreadsheet that did everything that I wanted it to do, and I, couldn't be more surprised and more happy. But the 2 minutes that it took Claude to generate that Rails app basically meant that I had to do more. Because again, I had tokens that I had to use that Claude is just a machine that needs to be fed. So I started to feed it. One of the things that I realized is that I was using just the browser find feature to basically cross-reference the VINs. For the non-car nerds, VINs are vehicle identification numbers. They're unique to every car. It's one of the ways that I can track all of the 1,000 that I'm trying to track. But I basically was like, hey, Claude, can you add a search to just check if the VINs are in the database? And it could. And then I just had to keep going. So I asked it if it could build me a VIN decoder tool. Now, VIN decoders, because VINs are standardized, you can submit them to a database and they can tell you if they're real or not. A lot of those, if anybody's ever used them, are either broken most of the time, they're covered in ads, or for some reason they try to charge you for them. Well, I got a free one and Claude integrated it into the tool for me. But what I thought was interesting is, I could start to just ask questions to Claude. One of the questions that I had was, if I don't know the full VIN, and I know part of the VIN, can you help me reverse engineer the rest of the VIN? And Claude was like, yeah, I can do that. So it did. And again, just as a designer, it's one of those things where I didn't know how that would work, but I knew it could maybe work, and guess what? It worked. So that was all just more more reason for me to keep going. So I started to build importers to take listings for cars being sold, automate the process of grabbing the VIN, grabbing the mileage, grabbing the price, any of that kind of stuff. I built a data scrapers, and again, I didn't build any of this, but Claude did. But there's parts databases, so why not grab the parts? Do I need the parts? No, but I can get them. What I could do though is that I realized I could compare those parts. Again, limited edition, standard edition, how do those compare? If I don't want to look at that view as a side-by-side, maybe I want to look at them in a list view. So why don't we add a list view? I realized I now was starting to get more and more data because I was using my tool to grab more data, and I figured I might as well start adding more data viz to this just to let me have an overview of all of the stuff that I had scraped. So I did that as well. And what I ultimately found out is that like building now is just crazy fast. It's unbelievably fast. Debugging is still something that you should do. Like you can't just one-shot this. You have to, work with Claude a little bit to make it the way that you want it. But at the end of the day, it works. One of the harder lessons that I've started to learn is that the process is just different. For this one, I didn't start with a Figma file. There's no design system. I didn't write any of the code. I still haven't even looked at any of the code. Like I have not looked at a single line of code for this tool whatsoever. But like I can just keep going. And all of this has reminded me of boxed cake mixes. So stay with me here. Cake mixes in the 50s basically came out because after World War II, Big Flour wanted to keep selling flour, so they wanted to make it easier to make cakes, and they did. One of the things that they saw is that the cake mixes weren't selling, so what one of the marketers wisely said is, we need to make people feel like they're actually trying harder because these cakes are too easy to make. So somebody suggested having people add an egg to it. Now, this is a, kind of a legendary story to some people, but it's almost positively a myth. The fresh eggs did help. They did make it taste better. There were still people that didn't have fresh eggs, so they still used the powdered eggs, and that was just fine because they still made a cake. But I think the important thing that is more likely to be true is that the time that people used to spend measuring, figuring out what ingredients they needed to make the cake the perfect, density or, moist or whatever it is, all of that was now simplified with the cake mix itself. And the extra time that they had, they could shift and they could start to decorate those cakes. They could make it theirs. They could decide if it was chocolate, if it was strawberry. They could decide if there was a lot of frosting or not a lot of frosting. They can write names on happy birthday cakes, all that kind of stuff. And I think that's kind of where I've found myself, is that I don't know what a Rails schema is, but I know that I can ask for things, and I know that I can customize however I want to customize this tool for myself to use. And it's really forced me to shift how I see the time that I'm spending with Claude and building all of these tools. I'm no baker. I'm still not a developer, but like I'm having a blast building a tool for myself. And if anybody, I'll try and do a live demo. If anybody noticed, I have all these fun little Claude screenshots. One of the other things that I decided to feed the beast was I built a whole tool to just look through all of my Claude chats and seeing all the chats. They're all on your computer, by the way. You can see all of your old Claude chats. I also decided to build an analyzer to analyze those chats. But like these are the kind of things that you can do when you stop worrying about measuring out the cake ingredients and you start to pay attention to like the thing that you're actually using, the cake that you're eating. Yeah, that's it. That's me. I'm Justin, and I made an app. So thanks, everybody.